I'm Dr. Melissa Leber. I'm one of the sports medicine physicians at Mount Sinai Hospital, as well as a player physician here at the U.S. Open.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alexis Colvin. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the U.S. Open, as well as orthopedic sports surgeon at Mount Sinai.
Hi, I'm James Gladstone, Chief of Sports Medicine at Mount Sinai, and one of the orthopedic consultants here at the U.S. Open.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hear so much about having to take care of our bodies, whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior. Today we want to discuss ways we can maintain physical health. So first, let's cover sleep. How much sleep should we get every night?
I would say probably between the three of us, we probably don't get enough.
Anything more than we get right now.
I think that's always a difficult question because basically you need enough sleep to get your body recharged and to feel well rested, and that's really different for different people. So I'd say it goes anywhere probably from 6 hours to 8 hours.
I think one thing that definitely is shown in the research is the more sleep you get, the more your body recharges, and the more you can think clearly and function normally during the day. So try to get the most sleep you can.
Yeah, I would say the sleep benefits go beyond physical health as well. There's definitely been studies showing that sleep helps also with memory and other mental components. So it is an important thing that we probably should pay more attention to.
And it also makes a big difference in terms of your muscular health. People tend to get injured more easily when they're more sleep deprived.
So we hear about hydration all the time. How much water should we drink every day, and what beverages should we avoid if we are training or preparing for a match or a big sporting event?
So they're laughing at me because I tend to be the one who speaks about this the most.
She's sponsored by water.
It's a shame I'm not sponsored by anyone else. But in general, a very physically active adult playing a lot of tennis in a hot environment should drink at least 6 liters of water a day. And it kind of depends on your sweat rate, how much water you need. So if you have a lot of salty sweat, you need a lot more water with sodium in it. If you have more dilute sweat that's not as salty, then you can just drink more straight fluids. But in general, for the normal athlete who's just a weekend warrior and not a professional tennis player, it's best to drink to thirst.
I think one of the ways you can monitor it or titrate it, and this is a little gross, but is by the color of your urine. The more concentrated it is, probably the more water you need. And so that's a good monitor, and by that, if you follow it along, you can sort of figure out what your requirements are when you go out and play, run, or do anything where you sweat a lot.
That's a good point. And one other point I should bring up is that you should drink a electrolyte replacement beverage that has some carbohydrate in it before you play and during a match, generally a 3-to-2 water to sports drinks ratio.
I would also add in that if you are not doing a lot of exercise, you do want to watch your intake of the sports beverages because they tend to have a lot of sugar. So, in those cases, you want to stick to water if you're being more sedentary.
So we hear all about different food and diet trends. Is there a particular one that athletes should follow or the weekend warrior should follow? Should we eat before exercising? And if so, which foods help us during a workout? And when should we actually eat if we're going to eat before working out?
It's a lot of questions there. You want to start?
So I would say it is different depending on your exercise level as well as the competitions and that sort of structure. But in general, there is a science in terms of the carbohydrates and fats and proteins that you want to have and the timing of it. So, for instance, let's say you're preparing for a match. The preparation doesn't start just before the match. It is the days leading up to it, as well as the hour before it, and then during the match. So I'll let Dr. Leber talk a little bit more about the specifics of that.
Yeah, so about 30 to 60 minutes before a match or practice, you want to have a carbohydrate and protein snack, whether that be cereal with milk, or half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or this turkey and cheese sandwich, something like that would help build up your glycogen stores. And then you want, during the match or practice, if you're working out for many, many hours, you should have some form of nutrition during the match, whether it be a banana is a very common one that can help with a lot of electrolytes as well. And then in terms of all the fad diets that are out there, I don't think any of us would recommend one specific diet. As long as you have a lot of vegetables and lean proteins and a healthy serving of all your different food groups, I think that's what we would recommend.
And I think that the other thing is, like with anything else, use common sense. If there are foods that make you feel bloated, don't eat those before you go out and play. If there are foods where you feel very energetic after eating them, use them.
I'd also add in that nutrition and hydration is really important post-match or post-exercise as well. So in general, you do want to have a mix of carbohydrates and protein at about an hour after you exercise or are in competition.
James got called away to a court call. Sorry about that. So now you just have Dr. Colvin and I.
No worries at all. So we actually did want to finish up and talk about total body recovery. Do you have any tips or recommendations on how to recover after a match or just a really hard and challenging workout?
So I say, looking at it big picture, if you look at professional athletes, they're not playing the same sport 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it is really important to have a complete, well-rounded program, including cross-training. So if you have a good mix of high and low impact exercise, it also includes, again, the nutrition, hydration, and sleep. And as well as taking a break is also helpful mentally as well.
And in terms of recovery, a lot of the athletes here will jump in an ice bath for 30 to 60 minutes after an intense match, and that can definitely help with muscle recovery and energy utilization. Also, in terms of recovery, it is a good idea to do a different type of workout the next day just to help your muscles keep moving, more of a dynamic recovery. And also, you were talking about food after a match. Within 60 minutes of a match, it is very hard for a lot of the athletes to eat, but we do encourage them to have a carbohydrate drink afterwards so they can help also replete their glycogen stores, like we talked about before.
I think one thing to remember, it's really important not to do the same thing day in and day out, especially if you're a real exercise addict, because that's just going to overuse the same muscles again and again. And so, like Melissa was mentioning, you know, if you're out playing tennis, then maybe the next day ride a bike for a while, or a stationary bike, or go swimming. You know, staying fit is obviously important, but doing the same thing all the time is only going to hurt you.
I try to say that's true in all aspects of life. So,
Yeah.
Including work.
yes.
So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Do you have any other final thoughts for our audience?
Follow us on Mount Sinai NYC for more behind-the-scenes action at the U.S. Open.